Indulge me for a moment. There's a high-level sales rep working at a commission-based clothing store. Let's call him Austin. He just recently got promoted to manager, and upon his promotion, he set a few goals for himself. First, to be the best team in the area and region in sales. 2, to be a respected leader. And 3, to inspire his subordinates to be as ambitious as he was on his rise to management. However, in trying to accomplish this goal, he came off as annoying, micromanaging, and overbearing. You see, before being promoted, he was one of the crew. He could be friends with his coworkers. And not that he can't anymore, but if he wants to be great at his new job, he must know how to get his former coworkers, now subordinates, to do things that a manager should be asking their subordinates to do. It's in this space that Austin struggles. Does he stay friendly with his former coworkers and risk being reprimanded by his higher-ups? Or does he give in and become strictly managerial and become a high-performing individual? If he doesn't figure this out, he risks sabotaging his chance to move up the chain of command. He risks stunting his career, not having a chance at higher pay. And finally, he risks being ostracized from his former group of friends. If he fails at both, he risks ostracizing himself from both his higher-ups and those below him in the leadership structure. After a while, he was asked to visit another manager from another store in his region to get some training. When Austin got to the store, he met with Thomas. And Thomas was an individual who he himself was not nearly as good at sales as Austin was, and he actually performed worse than Austin a lot of the times if you were to compare their stats as sales representatives. Yet, Thomas was the manager of the current number 1 performing store of sales in the region, despite himself not being the best salesman in the region. And this baffled Austin. So while training under Thomas, Austin asked, "How did you become the highest performing store in the region? I want to know, how did you do it?" And Thomas responds, "Well, I learned something early on, something that changed everything for me." And Austin goes, "Well, what was it?" And Thomas says, "If I tell you, you have to be willing to change how you approach your entire job, because if you don't, this advice will not work." Austin, "What do you mean?" Thomas, "The thing is, when you get promoted into management as a good sales rep, you often think that the ambition you need to be good at the job you had before is the same level and style of ambition you need in the job you have now." Austin, "Okay, I'm a little confused, but go on." Thomas, "The thing about being a manager is that you're not in sales anymore. You're in management, in other words, leadership." Austin, "Are they not the same thing?" Thomas, "No. You have the title of manager, but socially you have to earn your leadership." Austin, "Okay, sure, but how do I do that?" Thomas, "Well, you have to understand this key thing. This is the game-changing advice right here. But if I tell you, you have to be ready to hear it." And Austin says, "Okay, I'm ready." Thomas, "The one key difference is that you are the manager, the leader. You are no longer in sales. You are in charge of the people who are responsible for the sales." Austin, "That's it?" Thomas, "Yes, let me repeat that. You are not in sales anymore. You are responsible for those in sales." And Austin goes, "Sure, what's the difference?" And Thomas goes on to explain that you yourself might love sales, and your coworkers didn't mind before because you were their equal and just happened to be great at selling. But now you're in charge of them, and you cannot make the assumption that you are in charge of people like yourself, who are as ambitious as you are. If you assume that, you will come off as overbearing, micromanaging, and annoying. You see, you can be ambitious, but not everyone who has the job you had is also as ambitious. You have to meet them where they are, not where you were. Austin then asks, well, how do I get them to that point? And Thomas goes, it's pretty simple if you think about it. And Austin goes, would you be okay telling me? Thomas, of course. It's literally a matter of convincing them that the work they do is appreciated. It's a matter of reasonably making their job easier to do, within reason, of course. It's also a matter of showing that you actually want them there and that you care. You can keep being ambitious, Austin, but you have to fine-tune it in a way that makes people want to be ambitious and not feel like they have to be. Because they won't perform if you force them to do what they already know how to do. You just have to make sure that what they know how to do is fun, likable, and a smooth, easygoing process, since they won't have the same level of care you have for the job. And Austin says, okay, I think I get it. They went on to finish training, and Austin goes back to his home store and refined his ambition a little bit. Instead of telling people what to do, he would ask questions instead. Hey, is there anything I can do to make your job a little easier? And at first everyone was skeptical, but over time people would respond. Maybe we could arrange the store a bit differently, or what if we tried this instead of that? And as they realized this change in his demeanor, the staff began to get more open and relaxed when they came in, which reflected in how they treated the customers. Austin also went on to study leadership and people skills and learning from effective leaders via audiobooks and videos on the internet. He observed the needs of his staff. He would learn what it means to meet people where they are so he could inspire them into a path of reaching their highest potential. Over the course of a year and a half of fine-tuning and making changes, Austin became one of the highest performing managers in his region and best in the area. He was so effective that his higher-ups gave him a raise to help Thomas teach new managers how to effectively lead and manage. In fact, employees from other areas frequently requested to work under Austin. Customers would come back to see the staff because of how much fun they would have with them, and they loved the overall service. Austin's store went from average to always worrying about being sold out of some items. You see, not everyone will be as ambitious as you may be, and you have to talk to people as such. It's important, not just in sales but in life, to talk to people and see what their wants and needs are and meet them where they are. Ask about their lives and show that you care, because we live in a world where we don't always get that. You can be ambitious, you just also have to be smart about it. Otherwise, you're ambitious while in some circumstances is charming, in others it's quite annoying. By refining and understanding your own ambition, you can be like Austin, respected, admired, and a leader people want to work for. Because when you, an ambitious individual, work to make people's lives easier, they naturally want to make your life easier.